Alright, let's just have a nice, easy, chill chat about a really good book. Bora Chung is amazing. Alright, listen to this. Listen to this. Bora Chung has written 3 novels and 3 collections of short stories. She has an MA in Russian and East European Area Studies from Yale University and a PhD in Slavic literature from Indiana University. She currently teaches Russian language and literature and science fiction studies at Yonsei University and translates modern literary works from Russian and Polish into Korean. Jeepers creepers, mummy's tits. That's amazing. So she's great. She speaks what? Korean, English, Russian, and Polish at the very least. In this book, you do see Russian and Polish being used, so yeah. And then you've got, Anton Hur is translating this. Hi, Anton. I love you. I'm sure you're watching this. Thank you very much. Anton's he's so good. And then Honford Star publishing it. Honford Star, I love them. First publisher I ever worked with. They get better and better. Their cover designs are amazing. The books that they choose, they're doing Korean science fiction. Lots of Korean science fiction, Korean horror. Love it. Amazing. This is very, very exciting. There are books that I really like, and there are books that I love. I find it very easy to get excited about books that I really like because it's easy to talk about things I like. When I love a book, though, I can't talk about it. Words fail me. I cannot string together coherent thoughts. And I love Cursed Bunny by Bora Chung, translated by Anton Hur into English from Korean and published by Honford Star. I love it. Thank you to Honford Star for sending me this review copy, by the way, which is also a finished copy with lovely French flaps. This is fantastic. Cursed Bunny is a collection of short stories. 10 short stories that blur a line between fantasy, science fiction, gothic, horror, almost Lovecraftian ickiness. This is a book that is equal parts disgusting and delicious. It is yucky and yummy. It is impossible, and yet it exists. I love Cursed Bunny. I really, really do. When you finish this book, when you get to the last 2 stories in Cursed Bunny, you will remember what the first 2 stories in the book were like, and you'll find it impossible that they were written by the same writer and feature in the same collection. These are impossibly banded together stories. So what I'll do is I'm going to talk a little bit about the first 2 stories and the last 2 stories to give you a very loose idea. I'm not going to spoil any of them, and I'm not going to go over all 10 stories, even though I'd love to. The first 2 stories in this collection are very horrible body horror. They are twisted and scary and gross. The first story, which is titled The Head, is about a woman who goes to the toilet in her own apartment and she sees a head come out of the toilet after she's done with her business. And this weird head that kind of looks like a piece of clay or papier-mâché, it talks to her through this kind of slit in its approximation of a face. And it explains to her that it is made of all of the things that she throws in the toilet, namely poo, toilet paper, and loose strands of hair that she just chucks in there. And it just says, look, just keep doing what you're doing. Keep using the toilet as you do, because I want to be finished. So if you just keep pooing and wiping your bum, I can use all that stuff to finish myself. And then it goes on. She gets married, she has a kid. I won't tell you anymore. It's grotesque and wonderful and hilarious, and it has a very, very unreal twist ending that I knew was coming. I didn't know what the twist was, but I knew there would be a twist. You could feel that a twist was coming, and it was delicious. The second story, which is titled The Embodiment, is about a woman who is on her period, and the period just kind of won't stop. She's bleeding, and she's worried. She goes to a doctor, and the doctor says to go on the pill, the contraceptive pill, to go on it for a certain number of weeks, and to rotate between taking it and not taking it to kind of fix her cycle. And she does it for 3 months as instructed, but it doesn't work. So she does it for another 3 months, and then she goes to a doctor after her cycle is fixed, and there's a new problem, and the doctor says, you're pregnant, and says that if you don't listen to your doctor and you do it for 6 months instead of 3 months, then you can become pregnant. And then the doctor says, you also now need to find a man to finish the baby. You need to find a man to have sex with, who will then help use their seed to finish the baby, and also to then become your partner in raising the baby. And again, it goes bizarre, it has an enormous horrible twist ending, and it is more yucky body horror. So that's the first two stories. And after I read those first two, I thought, okay, I know what to expect from this collection. This is body horror, this is really gross, nasty, icky creepiness. But it's not. Not entirely. Because then, from there, each story becomes progressively different in its tone, its genre, it crosses boundaries and blurs lines in wonderful, unexpected ways. The penultimate story is called Ruler of the Winds and Sands, and it is something between a fantasy story and a fairy tale parable. It is about two kingdoms, one in the desert and one in the sky. The Sky Kingdom is a big golden airship made of cogs and gears, and the Sand Kingdom is a kingdom in the sand. They have a war, the Sand Kingdom wins, and the leader of the Sand Kingdom cuts off the arm of the airship ruler. And the airship ruler curses him and says, "You've cut off my arm, I'm going to curse your family line so that from now on, your children and their children, they will all be cursed with some sort of deformity." And then the king has a son who is blind and his wife dies in childbirth giving birth to him. And the king needs to lift this curse and figure out how he's going to fix his kingdom because his entire bloodline is cursed. And then it goes into the son's perspective and his betrothed's perspective, and she becomes the protagonist as the story goes on. And again, I won't tell you any more. But it's not scary, it's not horror, it's still weird, but it feels more like a folktale and a parable, a fable even. Oh. And then the final story, which is called Reunion, feels like it was probably slightly inspired by Bora Chung's own life because it's about a Korean woman who is in Poland. She's in Warsaw, she's studying, she's doing some research, and she can see this old man walking through the town square, and he's a ghost. He's the ghost of an old man who keeps walking from east to west, and she gets into a conversation with a young man, and then they enter a kind of romantic sexual relationship, kind of a fling, where they start talking about ghosts. They talk about World War II, they talk about the Nazis, they talk about the effects on Poland's history because of World War II, and it's a really sweet story. It's a ghost story of sorts, but it is not scary. Whereas there have been other stories in this which are not about ghosts and are very, very scary. So again, it's using horror elements and strangeness, but it's telling a completely different story emotionally and even in terms of its genre. It's now completely different. All throughout this collection, Bora Chung is leaning on horror conventions, strangeness, almost Lovecraftian methods of storytelling to tell very broadly different, strange stories that span the entire spectrum of human emotion and multiple genres. There is one story here that is about androids, it's a piece of science fiction. There is another story, the titular Cursed Bunny, that feels a little bit more grounded. It's about witchcraft and curses, but it's kind of relevant to capitalism and modern industry. There is so much going on here in terms of its variety. Cursed Bunny is amazing. I've read so many great short story collections this year. Things Remembered and Things Forgotten, Land of Big Numbers, 100 Boyfriends, and now this. I keep finding and reading so many great short story collections, and Cursed Bunny is a massive highlight of 2021. Anton Hur is one of my favorite human beings as a translator, as a writer, as a tweeter, as a person. I've been lucky enough to hang out with Anton a few times in person. He's the coolest fucking guy, and he's done some incredible work here at translating this. It's really stellar stuff. He translates with this intimacy and warmth. He makes it conversational in tone, and the icky grossness of the stories that are icky and gross really, really lands. He's done such a good job here. The cover art, the cover design, Honford Star nail their presentation so much. They name the translator on the cover. Both covers, front and back, are gorgeous. French flaps, beautiful end papers. The presentation is flawless. Not that that's the be-all and end-all, but it certainly helps. This is perfect. This is a perfect collection of short stories. If you love short stories and genre fiction, you are finding everything here. An entire breadth of genre and human emotion. It's perfect. Cursed Bunny is perfect. I want to go into detail about all 10 stories. I could summarize them, give you my reaction to them, and read them all on a stream or something. I cannot get enough of these stories. I might go reread one or two of them right now. They are addictive and horrible, but they're not all horrible. Some of them are beautiful. They'll make you laugh and cry and scream. They'll make you drop the book because it's icky and gross, and they'll make you drop the book because you have to hold your face as you weep. It's so good. Read Cursed Bunny. This is a highlight of the year. Incredible Korean fiction, incredible short stories, wonderful translation. Perfect. Perfect. Subscribe for books.